Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm going to be telling a story about, being married and having kids and being a young professional. Coaching and leading people means you have to be very selfless. You're giving a lot of yourself to other people. And my main priority, my main drive, my main focus and intention is my family. These guys right here texting me right now. And that's my crew, my wife Jennifer, Cameron, CJ, and little Callie. But starting off, the family was not easy. I remember being a fifth year senior at Long Beach State and getting the news that my now wife Jennifer was pregnant with our first son, CJ, Christopher Richardson Jr. And I had a lot of mixed emotions because at first I thought my life was over. I thought that there's no way I can possibly raise a kid right now. And I was in a very difficult mindset. And so um, going forward, Cameron was born March of my last year at Long Beach State. And when he was born, it was probably the happiest day of my life. I remember specifically crying because I had no idea what I was going to do. It was the most elating thing, and ultimately, what it did is it really put things in perspective for me. It really shifted my priorities in terms of where my mind was and how I thought about things. And I would say that that was a culminating moment where I actually became a better coach because I learned that life is bigger than me and what I was doing at that point in time. And so, with that being said, my wife and I, we moved to Arkansas with CJ, and we, had an amazing life and moved back here. And so we're closer to family. I was coaching at Compton College, and we had Cameron, and he was awesome because, CJ had a partner in crime at this point. And for me, I had two boys. Like, that was it. That was life. It was very hard because the simple fact is, like, now raising two boys, we're trying to juggle paying bills and for me, coaching and trying to make my name in the coaching world, traveling a lot. And as a coach, you have to understand that, and a lot of what we do is we're giving ourselves to other people. And when that's being done, sometimes it's very difficult to find like that work-life balance. I remember that I learned how to have a work-life balance by asking other coaches how they did it, because I had to be very conscientious about who I talked to. There was coaches that I didn't want to talk to because I watched how their dynamic was, and I didn't want that. I wanted something else. And so I was very strategic about who I talked to and who I allowed to give me information and advice about this, and I'm very thankful for those individuals. Tony Vini down in Ventura College, he was one of them. And I remember Dave Rada, he helped, kind of give me perspective of like what it is to be a dad, what it is to be a husband, and also a really good coach. So, I was excited because I was still navigating this and it was very new. And trust me, I made a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes being taking phone calls during family time. A lot of mistakes like, answering texts, when I probably should be focusing on the moment. Traveling, my kids, I wasn't very good at planning, when I had my kids because they're all born during track season, so not very smart on my part. But what I want to say is that, I had to learn how to, okay, this is family time, this is sacred, and this is when, I'm being a coach. And I'm so thankful for my wife because she was supportive during all that, because definitely not easy to have me gone almost every single weekend, whether it's recruiting or track meets or going into some type of professional development. But yeah, at the end of the day, she supported me and really knew what my passion was, and so very lucky to have that because that's one thing that we did early on is that we communicated about what our passions were, what our goals were, and we made sure that we supported each other through those things, no matter what it took. And sometimes it took a lot of compromise, and I learned how to be a better communicator because just because you think it doesn't mean that you said it, that kind of stuff. But when we get down to 2016, I have my daughter, Callie Richardson. And so we decided to have her. My mom was sick, and it was kind of a weird time for me. And my wife actually, when my mom was in the hospital, she goes, "Make sure you stick around because we're going to give you a daughter." And it was really cool to be able to see that. And Callie Jean was definitely what I could call a miracle baby, but she was definitely going to be a heptathlete in the future because she was born during the one of our championship decathlon heptathlons, and that's one of the first multi events that I actually missed. And it was hard because I had a really good group of kids and they worked really hard, but my daughter was born on the exact same date that they said she was going to be due on, and it was during that meet. So that was tough, and making these decisions and being with my family, I have no regrets. And I know that there's a lot of young men out there that are starting a family, and or maybe already have a family, and sometimes you lose your edge and your priorities shift and you're learning how to navigate that world. Just know that you're going to make mistakes, and things aren't going to go as what you think how you think they're going to go. Plans are definitely going to get changed, but it shouldn't derail you from what is your main purpose, and that's just to make sure that you're there. Your presence means everything. I heard a great quote that it says that you can't have quality time without a quantity of time, and you have to put the time in. And at the end of the day, it's so worth it because what I realized later is that my athletes were watching me dedicate myself to my family. My athletes saw me, be there for my family, and somehow sometimes they come back to me and they say that that was helpful for them, probably more so than that extra long jump practice. So I know it's tough and I know it's hard, and especially for women coaches, being able to have a kid and being able to be out there and be on the track and share that time is very difficult. And so I've seen a lot of great women leaders and coaches. Yvonne Wade down in UNLV, she's a great example. A great mother and a great coach and a great leader and somebody that's always there. And so these are people that I watch and I, kind of try to mimic and try to mirror myself after. It's hard because, people say they don't take work home. You might not take the paper home, but you might take the emotion home. Sometimes you can't just lash out at an athlete, but you can come home and you've probably, expended all your patience on the track or at work. You get home, you have zero patience. And there's times where I have to catch myself, and because I've done it, I've been a victim of it, where I've taken out my frustrations on the people closest to me. And what I realize what I have to do is I have to communicate my frustrations that I had previously and kind of almost let those be known and recognize them, because when they're already out there, they're less damaging, they're less powerful. When we put those frustrations kind of out there and we actually share them maybe with the people that we love, for me it's my wife. And when it comes to, dedicating yourself to others and making sure that you're, a better person when you come home, I think it's really, really has to come to gratitude and kind of being grateful for the opportunity, even the heartache. Like there's people that I have to deal with in certain arenas of, my professional career that really kind of put a damper on my mood, but I have to be thankful for the opportunity to interact with certain people and to be able to come out ahead and maybe not have the anguish or frustration that the certain individuals might try to displace onto me. And so I come home and I'm grateful for my family, that my family's there and that I can share with them and I can be with them. And so for me, like a lot of times I use gratitude as a kind of a something to help segue me to understanding and not allowing myself to kind of get caught up in emotion or allow frustration to be a driving emotion in my household. When you're looking at some qualities to find in coaches and somebody that you're going to almost spend a lot of time with and almost end up mirroring their personality and some of their qualities and traits, some of the things that you have to look at: consistency, due to the fact that you have to see them in their worst moments, or at least try to picture what they would do in their worst moments. Sometimes even asking, stories about hey, what happened during the year you didn't win the conference championship? because a lot of us, we want to tell the highlights, right? And so if you are looking for a place and you are, trying to find questions to help seek out the integrity or the, what you would say, the virtues of a coach or for a program that you're going to, ask them what they did in the worst of times, or ask them about a difficult time, just to see, how that, how that narrative comes about. One coach that I've seen in difficult times, and I really, from afar, really admire is Coach Holloway down in the University of Florida. I've watched him interact with people. He has no idea who they are. I've watched him interact with close friends and family, and he is the exact same person, whether he knows you or he doesn't know you. I've seen him have his back against the wall in certain situations when I think he probably didn't know people were watching him, right? Or probably wasn't aware of it, and how he handled those situations. That level of virtue is very hard to come by. So just kind of making sure that you try to find out what people are like, with in difficult situations, and also with people that they don't really know, because that's going to tell you a lot about a coach and a person.